All right, guys, it's time to check out the Seiko spb149er with a rather hefty suggested retail of $13.50, and that's really what a lot of people paid for these. It is limited to 5,500, if you can call that limited. This is actually number 3075 of the 5,500. This was sent in by my good friend. I didn't call him a buddy. He's a good friend, Homer. You guys know Homer. He sent in a bunch of watches. I talked to Homer, I don't know, I think pretty much every day, if not multiple times a day. So, if you're not familiar with this watch, let's break out the dimensions first. This is a more affordable 62 MAS reissue. It's not like the SLA 017 or something like that that came out a while ago. That came with a legitimate hefty price, but it was also, you know, really well built. This one's really well built too, but there's some compromises I think made, and I'm going to be a self-proclaimed Seiko fanboy. How do I know? A very critical Seiko fanboy. I'm a little more critical of Seiko than I used to be. So, and we'll cover that. But case size, 40.5 millimeter. Lug to lug, I measure like 47.65, but a lot of people are calling it 47. You can see it has a little bit different tone to the stainless steel on it. That's because it's DiaShield coated. Still doesn't detract from the really high, well done brushing and polishing, but it has a certain tinge or tone to it. It's not just a full polish. And what I mean by, you can see the coloring. It has like, I don't want to say like yellowing. It just has a little bit of an amber color to it, I guess, versus a regular polished stainless steel. Anyway, 13.9 thick, but that's including a lot of places have said flat sapphire crystal, guys. That is not a flat sapphire crystal. That is a very slightly double domed crystal with almost a very slight box to it. I mean, very, very slight, but it's there. The box and the double dome. And then 20 millimeter lug width, bracelet tapers down to 18. You have a nice clasp, we'll cover that. But since I'm already zoomed in, let's zoom in and talk about it. So that dial color is absolutely beautiful. Kind of like a, oh man, I don't even know how to describe it. I think it would look better in natural light too. But it's like a grayish bluish color. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect for this style of watch. And Seiko nailed it on that. They also incorporated a little bit of gold tone, but not like super gold, kind of like a bronzy gold with the seconds hand and the printing of the Divers 200. Nice touch, because then the hands are both polished with a brush. Are they polished? Gosh, they're so weird the way the colors are. Looks like they're brushed and polished. And then you have polished framed indices. I can't tell if those are applied or if they're done in the more traditional method that Seiko does, where they press the indices up from the bottom side of the dial, which actually makes it more consistent and clean. That could be the case here. I suspect it is. And then absent is the chapter ring that you would normally see like on a SKX or most Seiko divers. They went with, I guess technically now it would be called a Riot. And then the markers are actually printed on the dial. So can't screw that up, right? Well, it's a little harder to screw that up. So, but before I get too far along into the close-up here, I do have to point out, I said I'm going to be a critical Seiko fanboy. And by critical, I mean the bezel insert doesn't line up. So that's back spaced into the unidirectional spot there. You can see it doesn't line up. And if I click it forward to the next position, it doesn't line up to the left. I don't think you're going to pull this bezel insert out of this bezel. That might be a little too dramatic. I don't know if you can pop the bezel off and fiddle with the click spring that goes in there and see if you can get it lined up better, or if you just want to suck it up and just kind of either deal with it or just kind of put it in the half position and just use it as is. I couldn't find exact information, but I suspect this bezel insert's actually a coated steel bezel. Don't crucify me in the comments, but let me have it, I guess. Whatever, I don't care. Drilled lugs, they're also nice. Actually, this bracelet, I know a lot of people were kind of critical on this bracelet. I actually really like this new bracelet. So let's zoom back out because we can talk about that. Solid end links, pairs up to the case really nice. A little bit of play in it, but I don't know. I guess it's, I mean, these are mass produced, guys. Even though it's limited edition, they have non-limited models of this watch, and that's what it's based on. So really what's limited is the dial, essentially. The rest of it's pretty much stock components. And then the case back, because the case back's also numbered. As you can see, it's labeled limited and 3075 of 5500. Oh, also using the newer 6R35 movement, so it has a little bit better properties and longer power reserve and all that stuff. Screw down crown, 200 meter water resistant, all that stuff. But back to the bracelet. Really nice finishing on this. Nice brushed and then polished sides. It's going to use a pin and collar system. But where I'm more happy about the bracelet is the clasp. So yes, it's still kind of stamped and everything like a traditional Seiko. It still has the 4 micro adjusts, the double pushers, but the center part here is milled. So it's going to be more refined and more robust, but also it's going to still remain thin, and that is one of my favorite things. Plus, I love the way Seiko clasp sound. I will play with my Seiko Monster nonstop, and it still holds that shape. It still doesn't flop around. This one flops a little bit, not too bad, and you have a longer keeper there. So I don't know. I just love that metal with the metal ball bearings there. I just like the sound. It's like my little thing. So nice 6.5 millimeter crown on this. Easy to handle, plenty of knurling on there, and it's a little bit wider, so nice pop. You're going to get your wind there. Of course, first click, change the date. Second one is fully extended. That's going to hack the movement, and you can set the time. Pretty easy to do. And then you can go ahead and push it in. Screw down, keep your water resistance, and you're good to go. I think it's a great looking watch. This one also comes with this newer silicone strap, which is a little more comfortable on wrist than the like the ones that were on the turtles and everything like that. It just feels more premium. Still has the metal keeper there, and you can see this one's got a little Homer loving going on there, a little scratched up. That's Homer-fied. That's fine. So, and the color of the dial ties in really good with this strap. The other thing they do, Seiko does with their straps, you can kind of see a little bit of metal in there. So, see that? So that's how the spring bars are gonna. It's gonna hold up. These straps are well built. Let's just say that. Let's pop this on wrist. It's gonna have a killer wrist shot. Actually, the bracelet's on backwards, but it doesn't matter. There it is on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. Guys, Seikos feel like home on wrist no matter what. And I know, including myself, I really do prefer the 4 o'clock positioning, but I'm fine even with a Seiko with a 3 o'clock crown. It doesn't dig or anything like that, especially this 40.5 millimeter case size. It just feels comfortable. It feels at home on wrist. And a lot of people with smaller wrist or smaller watch preferences are going to enjoy this. So really, who's it competing with, right? Well, at $13.50, I think it kind of nudges out of people's comfort zone for sure, especially for spending on a Seiko, and then it pushes you into some Swiss market, or, you know, I'm sure people in the comments are even going to say, I don't know, save up another $700 or $800, and you're definitely into some killer watches in the $2,000 range. But that's Fantasyland. We're talking about $1,000 watch here, and this might be people's, you know, Grail type watch as a nicer Seiko diver, much like a MM300. I'm not comparing this to an MM300, but I'm just saying, if people really like this and they missed out on the SLA, you can afford to get this. You can't afford to get the SLA. So, and if they really like the 62 MAS style, but the other one, the SPB, whatever it was way too big and it just didn't satisfy, this one does it. Or other colorways of this one that you might be able to get a better deal on, because having owned and handled the Tudor Black Bay 58, that's the first one that comes to mind. That's where this one, I think if I had one of those and I showed it next to it, I think you would agree that it's like a very affordable alternative to it. And I don't want to, I mean, because it is, you know, it's a heritage watch from Seiko, so it's not like they're competing with Tudor Black Bay 58. They're doing their own thing. I'm just saying those two seem like they are in the same genre. So anyway, I rambled enough, guys. I think it's a great watch. I appreciate Homer sending it in. Yes, I'm still a Seiko fanboy. I still have a bunch of Seikos. Well, I have some Seiko, and I'll probably get more Seiko, but I am just finding myself more critical of them. And I think my feelings in that direction are justified because of that. You know, they want more from us. I think it's okay that we want more from them. Let's kill the lights and let's just enjoy the thing that Seiko does best. That Lume still, I mean, micro brands with C3X1 I think are pretty much the only ones that are on this level. Other than that, Seiko owns this market. Affordable divers with insane Lume, that's Seiko. That's the first name that's going to come to mind. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next vid.